Hi, my name is Neal Brennan. I have a Netflix special called Blocks. I'm so sick of saying this. Do you know what the premise of the podcast is? Today's guest, ladies and gentlemen, we're going on 20 years.
Whoa.
And his name's Pete Holmes. What do you, when you talk about your
just occurred to me we're going on 20 years.
Yeah. When you talk about your...
You look the same.
More or less.
We both look better. I'm going to say, I'm throwing myself in the mix. We both
you
look better.
Yeah, for
you
sure.
Look
you
better
look very
too.
tan too,
well,
which always works. I look better too.
You do look better.
Yeah. But I didn't have, I mean, my body's all out of, doesn't know when to do the right.
I was going to say, this is about my blocks, but I was like, have you addressed your body dysmorphia yet? Like, that's a real question.
Fuck.
Here's a Neal Brennan memory. You're eating a collared vegan raw wrap up.
Right.
At that bar that was down the street from Meltdown. And we were all like, why is Neal eat so healthy? He's so skinny. You lifted up your shirt and where this, like on me, there actually is smushy. I have no problem with this. You don't have smushy. You're like what science would study. Look, there's fat here. There's fat here. And I was like, oh, Neal has
Here's what's
body
aggravating.
dysmorphia.
Here's what's aggravating.
That's not a funny condition.
No.
That's just the moment I noticed.
Marin one time on stage or off stage goes, I see you pulling at your love handles on stage. And I was like, dude, I didn't even know I did that.
Wow. Does he have that? Marin?
Yeah. He's got bad body stuff. We barely talked about it. I don't know why not. People think I'm skinny with ease, and I'm not skinny with ease. I'm skinny because I could be fat in 2 weeks.
You think so?
I'm positive. I could gain weight. I know what to eat. First of all, I don't think everything is the same amount of fattening for all people. Peanuts are incredibly fat. Like I could get fat immediately on peanuts.
I tell you, I just went to my doctor and they were like, your cholesterol has doubled since you were here. And I think it was peanuts. That's the only guess I have.
Where'd you go to Costco or something and you fucking stocked
Get a lot of peanuts. I would rather eat peanut butter than ice cream.
Wow.
Yeah. I love
Block number one.
Block number one.
Why?
That's not entirely true, but there's a fog of war with peanut butter. You kind of like, it's nuts. It's just nuts. Like you eat like a one ingredient.
It seems
like it should be okay.
And kind of fun. The thing about peanut butter
is it's thousands of those things.
No, it's sugar.
No, I get the natch.
Oh.
But even the natch, it's just a lot of oil. I don't know. There must be cholesterol in it. I thought cholesterol was only in animal products, and people just turned this podcast off.
I hope they did. I hope they got the message and turned this off. We're trying to send you a message, which is get lost.
Get lost.
We want to have a private conversation.
Turn this off. I know you're on a road trip. Throw on the Block special.
Body
you don't
dysmorphia
need to see.
For you, or for me.
What were you going to ask? Sorry.
I had the thought, nothing is ever as bad as you make it out to be. And then I was going to ask you, what was as bad as you thought it would be in life?
Stand-up bombing is as bad as I thought it would be.
Yeah.
Bombing lives
right.
up. My divorce doesn't. I remember a cozy, snowed-in feeling. I write about it in my book. My wife left me when I was 28 years old, which means I got married way too early. I was 22.
Right. Yeah.
She has an affair. She breaks my heart. She leaves. I remember, this isn't just hindsight. I swear to you. This is the underreported thing in the Heartbroken. Mulaney, actually, we were even closer at the time. And I remember he was like, there's music for breakups. You listen to Radiohead. You listen to Elliott Smith.
Yeah.
You walk around. You see the sadness everywhere. And now I'm leaving Mulaney behind, but it's like there's a snowed in quality. The line I use in my book, it's like you're wearing the lead coat they give you at the dentist when they give you x-rays. But at least you know what to do. Does that make sense? Life is kind of clear.
Oh, that there.
Be
I mean,
sad.
there's a syllabus. Yeah.
Yeah. Be sad.
Yeah.
You're gonna eat. You're gonna drink. You're gonna see depression everywhere. Here's a Mulaney quote from that time. I remember we shared an office at the time, and he was like, go break the script, have a party, like have everyone over your house. I was like, I remember being like so bloated and like weary, and I was like, really? He was like, yeah, and I was like, well, the guy I'm renting the place for me has a cat, but I guess I could. And Mulaney goes, oh, you have a cat? I can't come. And he wasn't joking.
Great.
And that's depression. Depression is like, you're so sensitive. Yeah. I remember I went to the UCB and this guy Streeter, he's a comedian.
Streeter Seidel. He's a big writer at SNL.
Yeah, exactly. He came up to me and he goes, hey man, I go, hey, he didn't know my wife had just left me. I go, how are you? He goes, pretty good, just fucking your wife. like everything is so sensitive and it just keeps coming.
What did he, and he just
he
said
didn't
it
know.
as a
He
joke.
was just fucking breaking my balls. That's a normal comedian
it's a normal
thing to say.
that people say to it. It's not.
It's a normal comedian thing to say.
Yeah.
But like, anyway, what I'm saying is bombing is the only thing that when it happened, and I don't mean I bomb on a different scale now. If I bomb,
but it's still
just different.
It's not like you're worried the building is going to collapse.
No.
It's so tenuous and fucked, and you're just in emotional free fall.
Yeah. So divorce wasn't as bad as I thought it was. Don't get me wrong. There were moments. I remember being at a sushi bar.
And you're crushed.
Yeah. But you know how to be crushed.
And you can be crushed. So and
you just be crushed.
Right. But and you weren't worried about being stuck? You weren't worried about like this is terminal.
No, because the great gift of my divorce was I knew that being married, and I don't feel this way across the board, it was going to slow me down. Like at that point in my life, I was
career-wise, you knew that it was not going to be great for your career.
I knew if I got SNL,
well, it could have been okay if you had been if you chose to be a bad husband.
That's
or
right.
chose to be like a bad partner.
And I wasn't going to do that. The toll of that would have been too big. That's one of my baggage is being like, don't be bad husband, be good husband, be good boy.
That's a good block.
That is a good block. It is a big block. So yeah, being the golden boy, that was,
or just a good boy.
But that's just another way. You say you're a good boy when I call you on the phone, and I love it.
I was telling somebody yesterday, a new friend, one of us said good boy, and now it's just like good boy. Everyone I've introduced the term good boy to it immediately takes off. In fact, he was telling me
but you say you're a good boy.
He's a listener. Yes.
Yeah.
He's a listener. He will not do the show. His father is sick, and his mother, the mother and father were having an argument. And the father said, "You never tell me I'm a good boy." Wow. This is like a 7-year-old British guy.
Yeah.
So it's taking off. Good boy. But
it's huge.
There's something to be said. A good boy is, I would like to be we all want to be a good boy in the way a dog's a good boy.
Absolutely. Why are we giving our best to our dogs?
But we're going to get into that block. But I'm saying the way, right. But what a good boy stands for, like loyal, attentive, kind, caring.
It's recognition.
Responsible. Yes.
I think one of my non-blocks, meaning a thing that I use to get myself unstuck, is like giving is receiving. When I say you're a good boy, Neal, you're a good boy, I'm in the mix. I don't mean the thought that Pete is a good boy is also being communicated. That's not what I mean. I mean goodness begets goodness. When I believe in your ability and your potential, and vice versa. If I tell you your shit, my own shit is just on.
You embody that.
It's like you set the detector in your consciousness to find one thing or the other. If I'm seeing it in you, I see it in me. And if it's guilt or shame or ugliness, that's what you don't want to be on your deathbed and be like, I'm a piece of shit. And you know how you avoid that? See, it's heaven all the way to heaven. I don't mean literally heaven. I just mean like,
I know exactly.
It's heaven all the way to heaven and it's hell all the way to hell. So do it now. Give it now.
Well, then my next question is, do you hold yourself to a standard?
What do you mean?
If everybody's great, everything's amazing all the time, how do you go, that
Can I
person's
tell
not
you,
a good person?
I'm really glad
and
you
I'm
asked.
not being a good person right now. I'm not gonna let myself off. I'm gonna have body dysmorphia, but for my behavior. Which I kind of do have.
Most people do.
Behavioral dysmorphia.
Meaning I do too.
Yes.
The thing that I say, Rainn Wilson just did my podcast. We had this whole debate on whether or not you could do better. I was making the argument that if you did something, that was as good as you could have done. If you could have done better, you would have. And he was like, that's a cop-out. I'm like, yes. What are we going to cop on? What are we here to be hard? What are we here to be rough?
Well, responsibility is a cop on. Being responsible is a cop on.
I hear that.
Driven.
It's a bigger question. Here's the better answer, I think. When it comes to shortcomings, other people's shortcomings, let's take your body dysmorphia. What if I was judgmental of that? And I'm not making light of it. I'm just saying, let's assume you have it.
It's also like, I just want to have a perfect physique, just like once.
I understand.
Just once.
And let's assume that I think that's weird. I don't. But let's say I do. The way I snap myself out of that, Even though by your own metric, I could be like, Neal should fix that. Like, get help, like
Right.
change your mind,
Right.
do something.
Yeah.
Or the phrase that gives me so much value, and then I die. I'm just kidding. The phrase that gives me so much value is, if I was him, I'd be him. And I know that sounds super basic.
I know exactly what you mean.
Because you've done psychedelics. That is straight out of plant medicine's playbook. Basic stuff.
Anytime I do ayahuasca, especially, the conclusion is
something super basic like that. Oh, sorry. Keep
yes,
going.
but
Sorry.
again, the conclusion is they're doing the best they can.
Yeah.
I did ayahuasca 10 days ago, and I cried during it. And the thing that made me cry was 25 people. And where I do it, there's an altar, and at a certain point, the guy goes like, everyone just sort of move toward the altar, like, in literally in worship.
Yeah.
Worshiping, because in ayahuasca, you're like connected to God, right? And everyone's just going to worship. And I started crying. I was like, look at all these flawed people.
Yeah, that's right.
These flawed people who want to be better.
That's right.
They're not here because they think they're incredible. They want to be better. It's not even like supplicant or worship. They're asking a central creation force for any sort of help you can give me.
That's right.
I would like, in my essence, I am good. Then I got here, and the joke I've been doing is like, everyone's good as a baby, and then someone steals their toy and they go, fuck everyone forever.
That's right.
Like, that's kind of like, fuck everyone.
You learn a terrible lesson, which is kill or be killed, which is not reality, but it's the ego's thought system. Okay, a couple things. One is, I don't think I'll ever do this as a bit, but it's something when it comes up, I'll say it. But everyone, if you settle anyone down, whatever that means, we could give you a massage, we could help you meditate. Let's do 45 minutes of breath work. Give me anybody in history.
Mm-hmm.
Give me 45 minutes of breath work. Give me silence.
And I know you mean
we all meant Hitler.
Yeah.
But I don't like that because it does complicate it, because that's triggering. I get
understandably.
It.
You're talking about like
I just mean
Jeffrey
give
Dahmer,
me
whatever.
bad
The
people.
darkest,
Give me your bad people.
Darkest and the lightest.
Everyone at their base is Enya. No one at their base is death metal. We become
totally
death metal.
agree.
You add, I lift weights.
It's valuable.
To
yeah.
metal. I got off the phone with my mom, who has she's struggling with her health, and it's just so bleak. I put on Metallica and fucking love it, and I'll cry that somebody, out of the goodness of their heart, made metal. So I'm not putting down metal.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, anybody you bring them into their base, they're the white sheet of paper that all of their experience is written on is clean and pure.
Yes.
So everybody that went up to that altar not only wants to be better behaviorally, ethically, live a better life, they also, I would say, in my mythology, they recognize that they are divine and they want to lean into that. By the way, this story is fucking everywhere. Richard Rohr helped me see this. Harry Potter. What's Harry Potter? I realize my parents are wizards. It's the same story. You realize you're from divine
I would say it's
stock.
Like
you've been misplaced.
We need the Matrix. We need Star Wars. We need like your special there's churches once a week.
Yeah.
It should be.
It's more than.
I actually agree with Islam's practice of praying 5 times a day. I don't do it, but I'm like, that's you need it.
Father Greg Boyle, because you know Homeboy Industries. I go, how do you replenish yourself? When do you replenish yourself? And he said, with every damn breath. And I was like, that's it. That's it. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're doing right now with this conversation. We're finding a way. But like when you see that even Jason Bourne, he has amnesia, but he's great. We can't get enough of that idea because you think you're shit, but you're actually a perfect note in the symphony of
how do I get to it
divinity.
Is what all this shit is. How do I get to the Matrix where I can just see everything becomes digits and it's not necessarily about violence, which is the only thing you understand.
That's right.
I like the end of the Matrix when he's shooting everyone because he sees it so quickly. It's like, Or I mean, Luke Skywalker's better in that it's
you have
like
to remember,
the blind one, you know?
The Matrix was so impactful on on the consciousness that it became like a common defense of people that did terrible things. That they
were fighting the Matrix.
I'm in the Matrix, yeah.
Yeah, it's like Andrew Tate and people like that go like, the Matrix. It's like,
but that's what we're dealing with. You can't jump to chapter 37. And that's what Ram Dass said. He's like, sometimes with psychedelics, I'm glad I found psychedelics when I found psychedelics. I don't think you should jump into the psychedelic thing immediately. That's called jumping to chapter 37. I don't think you're saying that either. It comes when it's appropriate, and you need to be mature. Your brain needs to be mature. I think you need to be spiritually mature. It would be helpful.
Well, it's useless to do. I mean, when I do mushrooms now, it's not a party. It used to be a party.
Right.
It used to be a fun fucking
it meets you where you're at.
Silly party.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it's like a church.
Right.
I told Theo, I saw Theo the other day, and he came to my ayahuasca circle, and I wasn't there, but him and Roy Wood did it side by side, which is one of my favorite memories that I don't have. I didn't see it. Roy was under a blanket talking to himself for 8 hours. But I said, I was talking to Theo, and we were talking about like, you're in the chamber of existence and consciousness on ayahuasca. And I said, it's January 6th, but you get to go in like behind the scenes of of creation and consciousness. It's fucking incredible.
And sometimes the epiphanies from these things are super simple, like if I was them, I'd be them. But I don't think there's anything more, well, there are certain ones that are maybe more impactful, but when it comes to conflict, when it comes to being on the phone with my parents and struggling, the phrase, if I was them, I'd be them. And just, I know you get it.
It's hard to always believe that.
If you had their body, their brain, born in the time, the circumstance, it's so obvious, but reality can be so obvious. Like, for example, I love the work of Byron Katie, and she says, you can argue against reality, but reality wins, but only every time. So my mom should understand me is a thought that gives me pain, let's say. I mean, that's so common. I'm sure that's true for most people. And she would say, is that true? My mom should understand me. Is it true? Just that. I guess not. Because she's a person.
Like, where'd you get that
Do you
idea?
understand her?
Yeah.
Motherfucker?
Yeah.
Do you? You're suffering over an illusion that should be happening. That
other people are also so mysterious because there's so many contradictions.
But the last step of that, I don't mean to interrupt.
No, I interrupted you. I'm saying your mom couldn't. You can understand your mom. You could. I can't understand you. I can like get a. Buddy. I can.
Well, see, you're
distill you a little bit, but I can't really.
No, you're master level. You can say my mom should understand me. You can unpack that. This is what I do. So this is something called The Work. So you can look on YouTube if it's interesting to you. Byron Katie, The Work. So you can do the work on the presupposition of my mom should understand me, which is people can understand another person, or I can understand another person. I live with my wife. We've merged. I live with my wife. I just mean like we've merged.
That's pretty cool. Nice of you to do.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. She pays rent.
Yeah, that's cool.
We've merged. I would say we're at our age as close as people can be. Are there mysteries to her that I won't understand? I sure hope that doesn't make her feel lonely. I know she would understand. Of course. You can't. I don't understand myself. And I want you to understand me. I want my mom to understand me. Which me, man? Like it's an underwater sandcastle. It keeps changing.
Yeah.
Physically changing, psychologically changing. You take away 3 meals, I'm a different dude. I've had coffee, I've had food, I've had exercise. Yeah. Talking to a different guy. What the fuck are we talking about? My mom should understand me. And then you flip it at the end, you go, I should understand my mom. Yeah, you should. You should understand that she's a person that can't understand you.
Yeah.
And also, my mom does understand me. Yeah, she gave me that for my birthday, or when I call her, she knows this and this and this about, I don't have to feel, what are the ways she does understand you? Instead of looking at how she does, it's brilliant stuff.
Yeah. I get frustrated when people pretend they understand you when they don't. it's like holding themselves out as something that they're not. So it's like, you want me to rely on you for a thing you can't deliver.
Yeah.
You want credit for a thing you can't do and you won't do.
Right.
That's what I get. But
I hear that.
At the same time, it's a very, very helpful attitude to have in the world.
If I was them, I'd
everyone's doing the thing they're programmed to do, or at least, and it's like, well, they're not programmed. They listen to the wrong podcast. They whatever. I don't know. That's how they got there.
You would have picked that podcast if you were them.
That's the one. That's the one for them.
It's easy. I actually think it's easy. It's not very easy to talk about, but I remember watching Trump speak, and I was like, this is my dad can beat up your dad. Meaning,
anyone who doesn't understand the appeal is out of touch.
But most people, look, I can't speak for most people.
Yeah.
I just know a lot of people appear to be out of touch. And it's kind of addict thinking, and it's like, this is evil, this is wrong,
right,
those are idiots.
It's like, well, they should. It's like, should.
If you were them, you'd be them.
Yeah.
And the other one I had, I think these are MDMA. If I was them, I would be them. Sometimes the plans get in you and they just stick around, meaning I don't need to be on the drugs. I know you know this. To have, if I were them, I'd be them. But the other one was, I know this is even more basic. It's going to sound stupid, but I took some MDMA in kind of like a therapeutic way, but I saw it with clarity. I was like, people don't have to be like me, which is another version of it. Like, you're going around burdened. There's this great line in Chinese Zen, I believe, or it might be in the Book of Tao, but the great way is not difficult for those who have no preferences. So the preference that you be like me is really blocking my ability, and I know you know this, to hear the jazz of reality. I know that sounds fucking stupid, but I just mean
people use jazz as a metaphor.
I know.
My fist balls up involuntarily.
Then let's say the ice cold waterfall of the constantly
same thing. I fucking hate waterfall.
Then let's talk about the knife's edge going through.
I love knives.
You know what I'm saying? Like, reality is,
it's hard. You want
wild.
Shit the way you want it.
But you can't see reality because you're too busy wanting things to be a different way. And I'm not saying we can't imagine things and design things and write things. Don't misunderstand. I'm saying that ability has perverted and robbed you of your ability to sit here and have this conversation with you. If I start going like, well, what's traffic going to be like after this? I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I'm fucked. If I can I always say drop anchor. Just drop anchor. Drop your anchor. Stop moving the boat.
Guys, I love travel of all kinds, especially international travel. Been to Mexico a couple times in the last few months. I've been to Thailand. I've been to Hong Kong. Where else have I been? I think I was in Vietnam. Anyhow, when you go to these countries, sometimes you can't get online. So you got to use VPN. Or you're in America, and if you want to use different websites or not be in America, you got to use a VPN. If you want to watch sports from different countries, you got to use a VPN. I use it to watch streamers. I'll say that. Let's keep it vague. I use it to watch streamers with rights issues in America that maybe it is running in a different country. I'll pretend I'm in that country with NordVPN. You got to use a VPN. You got to use a VPN. You got to use a VPN. Per month, NordVPN is the price of a cup of coffee. So it's a low cost and huge savings. You're going to get that money back. Grab your exclusive NordVPN deal by going to NordVPN, NordVPN.com/NEAL to get a huge discount off your NordVPN plan, plus 4 additional months for free. It's completely risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. Just go to NordVPN.com/Neal. Be smart. Pretend you're in a different country. You got to use a VPN. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Look, I get why they sponsor the show because all we talk about is improving mental health. You know about it. I've been to therapy 20 years. Talk therapy, hugely helpful. It will just give you someone to bounce your life off of, and they'll show you how to interrogate yourself of like, what do I mean? What do I feel? It's better than a friend. That's all I can tell you. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Find more balance with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/NEAL today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/NEAL. BetterHelp.com/Neal. I'm not going to say it again. BetterHelp.com/Neal. I said it again. All right, let's get into some blocks that totally contradict everything we just said. I hate my dog.
I wrote it in comedy language.
I hate my dog.
That's better.
I hate my dog.
I hate my dog. Here's a better way and a less funny way to say it.
Okay.
I don't hate my dog. If I was on stage, I would say I hate my dog. It's funny. My pain projects perfectly onto my dog for a million reasons.
Go on.
It's just hard to talk about, not really, but because we're being recorded, because people love dogs and people hate if you talk about having a difficult relationship with your dog. They don't like it.
I relate to it. It's the beginning of blocks. That's my first block is dogs, which Chris Rock told me not to do.
Exactly, because he knows.
That he was saying because it's hacky. But I was, the reason I led with it is because if you say you don't like your dog in California, you're like
it's worse.
You're like a gun carrying member of the NRA.
Yeah.
Super
but
right.
Can I say, like Judd?
You're like vaguely white supremacist if you have a less than ideal relationship with any kind of animal in California.
I agree. Judd had a bit about not liking his dog, and I loved it. So I was like, I know there's some people out there that, like me, that secretly love it.
Yeah.
That being said, I envy people that can connect with a dog. When I'm holding a sandwich and my dog with his click-clack fucking live, die, repeat nails, he's following me like one of those ghouls.
I have paper on my floor right now because they're painting. Yeah. Keith has been walking on papered floors.
Yeah.
I used to live in a townhouse, so it's all flat now. I live in like a ranch house, basically.
Yeah.
So Keith walks around my house the way my dad used to walk around after he retired, where he's just like, so anything happening? Anything going on? And then just walk back to wherever he was.
You've actually touched on one of them. He reminds me of the meaninglessness. He does. All you're doing is eating, shitting, licking your fucking, where your dick used to be, your balls. Like, it sucks. I see my mother.
Oh, so you're judging him. I thought he was judging you.
No.
I'm judging yourself.
Him. I'm judging him, that he's just going around.
But you're judging yourself because ultimately you're judging your own.
Of course, it's
utility.
all projection. But I feel all this guilt that my mother is at home also puttering around in the same way. It breaks my heart.
Here's a question. It's something I've suspected about people who love dogs. You know, when people on dating apps will be like, if you want to find me, I'll be over talking to the dog.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, I'm too pure for human beings. I gotta hang out with animals because they're the only one. They're the only ones who get me, and I'm so special. What I'm saying is they're projecting some purity onto the dog, and you're projecting some.
That's right.
Judgment, and you're
it's a blank piece
like
of paper,
sloth and a bunch of shit.
Neither of us are right. That's exactly right. In fact, I should start here. I shouldn't start when he does follow me and I'm eating a sandwich. It just fills me with dread because this is real, but like I feel like my mom loved me, and then I later learned that was it pure? Like, or did she want my sandwich? Okay, that's as much as I'm comfortable going into that.
Wait, your mom?
Let me explain a little bit more. I'll even say it out loud if it's just he and me. I'll be like, what idiot walks around their kitchen with a turkey leg and their dog is following them and goes, he just wants to be with me. You know what I mean? That's how I feel.
Well, yeah, it's taking credit for, it's the thing the joke from my specials about, which is like, I'm taking credit for Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah, that's right.
I'm taking it like he loves me.
And I just can't. But it also reminds me of, again, this is just my pain. If I'm in a good way, I don't feel this way. And I'm very kind to my dog. We have a good relationship. He doesn't
we're
know.
not saying hit them. We're not.
No, I know.
Again.
But my dog doesn't know we have a complicated relationship. He just thinks I love him. So,
well, I guess Ben is. He's a huge fan of my podcast. So not yours, mine.
That's right. But I go like, it calls into question the reality of love. I'm like, is all love just following a turkey?
A variation on following a turkey.
Yeah. And that breaks my heart. And every time I look in the lawn, he just happens to be shitting. So I go like, so again, I have to be careful with this. I go, all he does is eat and shit on the lawn. Like I had a line, I tried it a couple times, but again, people don't want to hear this. I go, I love my dog. I mean, I love my dog as much as you can love anything that shits on my lawn, which I think is hilarious.
Yeah.
People don't like that. Here's the real thing, Neal. And this is why I put it on the list and why I believe it's a block. He barks. He barks at me. He barks at random noises. He barks when anyone comes over. He barks if you leave.
Is it angry or it's just talking?
It's loud as fuck. It's loud.
Keith has an incredibly loud bark.
This is a loud, and when I see my poor brother, because my brother and I are the only people that I'm like, we get each other in that way. When I see my brother cower, I could cry. That my dog starts barking and I see my brother's shoulders go up. I'm like, that's me. I'm just better at hiding it. But both me and my brother are like fucking terrified every time. So Val, who's a genius, an emotional genius, is like, trauma is an irrational re-experiencing of a past negative thing. It's not something you can just go, it's just the dog. It's just the dog. That's what the definition of trauma is. So my poor dog, it has nothing to do with him.
By the way, they changed the definition of trauma.
What's that?
Val's talking about PTSD.
Okay, that's what I have.
Trauma is the definition of trauma changed in the 70s because it used to be a physical thing that happens to you.
Okay.
And then it became like sort of a more open interpretation. But I'm still I'm
holding on to that one.
And you're talking to somebody who I've been told I have complex PTSD and all this shit.
Yeah.
But I don't like the overuse of it.
I understand.
But like that's aggravating. I don't like loud noises. I don't like motorcycles. And I don't know if it's trauma or there was a thing where maybe it's autism. I don't fucking know.
I'm open to anything.
But I'm with you, yeah.
But I would wager for both of us, if someone could come into my body and hang out for the day.
If they were you, they'd be you.
If they were me, they'd be me. But I think if they could give me a report as to how their lives are versus what it's like being in my body, they would go, I can't believe what it feels like when the dog barks. I just can't believe it. And the snow that we shovel on these feelings, the food that I put on these feelings, just everyday coping stuff, earbuds,
and
earplugs.
It's not always the dog.
No, it's
a
not.
Bunch of things.
That most of my things, I would say noise is my trauma, but like also just like, yeah. So the dog got classified in my brain, and I mean, I don't have anything to do with this, as a negative thing because of the fear. And then things like, this motherfucker doesn't love me, he's just following me for a sandwich. It all gets, I can't see him. I can't see him honestly.
I'll tell you when I actually believe Keith.
I'm picturing Keith Robinson every time.
You got to. When he just comes and sits with me, if I'm watching TV or in bed or whatever, because there's no ulterior motive. It's like, this isn't food time.
You know what you're describing? A cat.
Oh, so Keith's a cat, or in those moments he's a cat?
Cats are either out of your life and people are like, this fucking asshole. You're a codependent bitch. Like, your cat will show up when he's ready for you.
Yeah.
He's not here to fall. A cat wouldn't degrade itself and fall. Well, some of them would and follow you around the kitchen.
Well, yeah, but for food they will.
For food. But I just like the honesty of a cat. I like the honesty of comedy. You said, I talk, you laugh, I listen, we get it. It's like, I've never seen a sex worker, but there are people in comedy that love him. Yeah, it's the same dysfunction. Let's keep this clean. You know what I mean? Like,
what do you mean?
I think people that love control would be drawn to sex work because it's like, I understand this. I want sex. You'll give me
transaction.
Sex. I'll pay you.
I will give you this many units. Over. You do this for me. Yes.
In the same way, comedy can feel that way to me. I want to be social. I'll do it here at this time.
Yeah.
We'll engage.
That's what I like about comedy versus relationships is I like what their expectations are. They tell me what their expectations are, and I'm like, oh, I've built a personality that's almost there just walking around. So if you're going to pay me, be there at a certain time, and I have to do this thing that I love doing, this is such a satisfying relationship.
I couldn't agree more.
And it's so fair. It's very literal.
Yeah, it's so literal.
And it's like, there are people that I'm not the most popular comedian. There are people that are more popular, but it's all the same. I think there are times where I'm like, I should be more popular. I'm sure Kevin Hart thinks that, or Dave, whatever, like guys that do arenas, but it's pretty fair.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
I agree. Here's a line that I use on stage. If I go, one time I told that joke, if I want to do one of those, I'll say, don't be upset. I am seeing other audiences. And that's indicative of what we're talking about. It's funny because we are sort of like renting an experience of intimacy and closeness, and it's over at 9:30.
Yeah.
But I had my physical like a week ago, and I was like, I've never been one of those people that's like, this is sad, I'm paying her. I'm like, I'll take care and compassion and listening and questions and mole inspection. I'll take love wherever it is. I don't care if that's my point, is you have to go like, maybe the dog, this is what Val would say, can't he love you and want your sandwich? Can it be both? And that's what it goes back to my original, is there's an envy. People who have PTSD, I think, and I had a doctor tell me I have PTSD. I'm not just joining a club. It's like, I envy the non-PTSD people that can just go like, I see what's happening. I see a dog.
I'm appraising this in the right amount.
And I'm not.
I'm hearing this at this volume at the right level. It's also the good thing about plants and Aya and all the stuff you do. And in my case, DMT as well. The one time. You just take it less literally.
Yeah.
And that things like the other day was turning into my driveway, and I scraped the side of my car on a thing. And I guess I'll fix it. But I'm not. Yeah. I can't even do the calculation of like, if I don't fix it, that means I don't even know what it means.
Yeah.
But people assume like it means I'm
you just said
poor or I'm dirty or low status or and I'm like, I don't know what it means.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means that I'm fixing or not fixing a cosmetic thing on my car. My car is generally speaking kind of dirty.
Yeah. Mine's filthy.
And I don't know. I've had women in my life get mad at me about it, or like whatever. They want it to be their way. And I'm like, you couldn't convince me why this needs to be clean.
Yeah.
I don't know what it means. We're not fighting infection. Nothing's going to happen because of this.
Yeah. That's right.
I can tell you what's happening now. My life's more convenient because I don't have to worry about putting everything in a perfect place.
You and I are this close to dressing like Adam Sandler. We're just going to wear sweatpants.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
I'm not making fun of Sandler. I'm saying
I don't.
It's the same kind of thinking.
All of my clothes, my appearance is all defensive. It's all I don't like. This house.
You want to
doing
save
painting,
yourself? Yeah.
They're painting the door, whatever. Just one of those dumb house things. And someone's like, why are you doing this? And I was like, I don't know. Because a guy said I should. And I'm worried about, I used to do a thing with a ex of mine who was always fastidious. And I go, this jury of gay guys is never going to come and judge your house or clothes.
It's very funny.
They're never coming. They don't exist. So this jury of people that are going to come and make fun of my house.
There is no test. That's the line from my book. I go, there is no test. I can't be sure, but I feel like your Buddhas and your Christs were like, there is no test. I don't know what you're talking about. And I'm not just flattering you. I don't know what that means. We add stories. The car should be this way, or it means this or that. If I have this phone or these clothes or this whatever. And when you drop that, this is what the dying do. When you see someone who knows they're going to die, they look around at us like fucking worker ants. And they're like, I don't know. So the trick is to die before you die. Yeah. Because then you can live. Like, I know that sounds like a fucking magnet. I'm just saying, like, if you can I'm always spacious. The quality that I want isn't rightness. I don't want to be right. I don't want to, of course my ego does. Of course I want to win debates and be smarter and flourish and win.
Right.
But really, like, my most prized sensation is spaciousness. And even if you're holding a hot feeling like anger, rage, jealousy, whatever, just asking, can I put a little space around this? Can I hold it a little less tightly?
My DMT a year and a half ago, I kind of lost my mind a little bit. But people talk about ego death, and I'm like, no, I was there. There's always an I.
What was it? Did it know it was Neal?
It was a first-person perspective on things.
What else could it be?
What do you mean? Meaning
what other perspective is it?
I was experiencing things from a fixed point, my consciousness.
That's I. But ego, I've had ego death, and there was an I there.
Right. So that's when people call it an ego death, I don't think it's the correct term for what I would say I've experienced, which is,
I hear you.
At its best, these medicines are like, and you can't not call it medicine. I'm sorry. I know it's disgusting. But Pete just said you have to die before you can live. So anything goes for the next 10 minutes.
You can die so you can truly live.
Yeah,
it was worse.
He knows the quote.
It was worse than what you said. And what's worse is it's the first time I said it, and I've already hit save on it.
And you're, yeah.
Well, that's a good one.
And you're disgusted with it.
I'm also disgusted.
And
an asshole.
I mean, come on. So I had a different perspective on all of life and meaning, and taking life less literally, and not automatically accepting if I don't get my car
fixed,
buffed or cleaned, or even if my house isn't well decorated or it's not the right. I don't even know. I know why. I know it's fear and status, and the reason people go like, he had the right watch on and he had the right shirt and all that shit.
It looks exhausting to me.
It's worse than exhausting. It's like, it's really inhumane. I mean, if I can be self-righteous about it, it's just like, ugh, why are you doing that? For what?
Right.
So I guess
the watch-shaped hole in your
yeah, like for what? Like, and then the thing is, you ever have a goal?
Of course, I have a comedy-shaped hole. Yeah, a goal.
And then you ask yourself, and then what? I asked somebody, we both know was making a movie, and he's like, and I go, who are you going to be after you make the movie?
One of the problems I have with religion and a lot of approaches to spirituality is it's very interested in ethics, morality. I'm not saying there's not a place for that. I'm just saying, and then what? It's like, a lot of times it's like we want to get everything perfect in this, let's call it a dream or this whatever.
It's the gay jury.
This reality. I don't know if it's the gay jury.
It's God, but it's the gay jury. Do you know what I mean?
Sure. What I'm saying is the bias of a lot of the times of like, let's be nice, let's be cool, let's share resources, let's help and this and that, all that's great, is sort of presupposed on this idea that like, a lot of human values, meaning I would say non-spiritual values, meaning not necessarily spiritual values, meaning a long life is good, pleasure is good, pain is bad, flourishing is good, abundance is good, scarcity is bad. Those are our values as mammals, right?
Yeah, like inherent.
And
like
when
you can get, it's pretty easy to understand like why people hoard things.
Exactly. But when you merge spirituality, or when you confuse the point of spirituality with maximizing the efficiency of the human experience, I actually think you're leaving a pretty big, I would say the point, it's the and then what? Okay, Neal, I'll solve all your problems. How many years would you like to live? Don't be ridiculous. 150? Don't be ridiculous. I'll give you 150 years. I'll even guarantee you don't have any disease or pain, and you'll die on your 150th birthday when you gently touch yourself on the nose and you just fade out, and it's painless and it's perfect. And then what? And then what? Guess what? I know you know this. Time is an illusion. It's all happening. And we experience it like drilling a tiny hole through a marble. Zzz. But it's really already happened. Everything that's ever happened has already happened, and we're experiencing it in this way. So in the narrative of time and days and nights and suns and sunsets and waking up and sleeping and growing and aging and all that stuff, we have the experience of a life, and I don't think the point of life is to maximize it and to like nail it and to kill it and to string beads together of pleasure. Oh, look at that life. That was great. And then what? I think the point...
I don't agree. I'll tell you sorry, you were going to say the point,
which is a very funny place to cut me off.
Yeah.
The point. We have
if I may,
a word from our sponsors.
Yeah. BetterHelp.
Without sounding trite, there's an altitude for all of that, by the way. You're looking at a person who is trying to architect literally the best life that's ever happened, doing a great job. I love my life. I will also say out the other side of my mouth, and with humility, I think the point is to realize there's no test, realize your true identity. It's the prodigal son. We need to go home. We've gone out and we've spent our inheritance, and the last step is to go home. And maybe we even think we've been naughty boys, and your dad says, you were always with me and everything I have is yours.
Is home a feeling?
Home is what's looking at your eyes right now. And we need to realize that, honestly, sometimes in meditation or sometimes on psychedelics, but honestly, more often in meditation, it becomes the clearest thing in the world that consciousness predates matter. We think matter created consciousness. And then when you really get cozy inside of consciousness, you go, wait, we think matter created close your eyes and find a boundary on the other side of which that feeling of isness isn't. So this thing is timeless, spaceless. It's incredible. I don't just mean do it for a second. Really drop anchor into that, and you'll laugh when you recognize yourself. You go, it was the white paper. It was the Enya. It was the screen that the movie happened. And we get confused. This is Rupert Spira. We get confused by the plot of the movie. You forget you're the screen. You were the neutral, defenseless, but also indestructible, meaning things are just always coming into it, but also completely, Rupert would say, the screen of a movie isn't colored by the things that happen. It's not stained. Terrible things can happen on the screen. Great things can happen on the screen. The whole time you're the screen. I think not only is that like an afterlife potential or like an up-leveling of your consciousness or whatever after this dream is over, but right here and right now, my life is richer recognizing that there's nothing to defend. I don't have to defend the Pete-ness. You know what I mean? Like, we're both the same thing. We're both
You're
the
right.
screen.
It's all the same thing.
And that's a good life. That gets rid of fear. That gets rid of anxiety and dread.
The reason I cut you off before was what do you think of pleasure? Because there are times where I think the purpose of my life is to experience as much pleasure as possible and not like constant jizzing.
Yeah.
I mean, just good feeling in my body, a good experience for me. And again, that sounds even more selfish than I mean it.
I think what you're saying is incredibly honest. And of course I agree and relate to you. And that's why I have to be humble and say, I'm saying the whole point is waking up, so why don't I move to the mountains? You know what I mean? I also go like, this is a classroom where I can do it. You don't have to move to the mountain.
A lot of both of our lives is a hedge. We're hedging our bet. I'm gonna live a great life. To pure Enya.
Yep.
And also, what are they paying?
Yeah. Look, the way to disarm, I don't mean destroy, but disarm and stop to dissociate from the ego is to notice what it's doing. We don't have to spit on the ground and scorch the earth or anything, but we can be honest. Yes, Pete sometimes doubts what he's saying. Pete sometimes is afraid.
It's also, the literal is a backup plan. Like, okay.
That was a very Seinfeld okay.
Okay. I will aspire to purity and not in behaviorally, like literally mist.
Yeah.
The mystical consciousness.
That's right.
And I've also
I had a baby. I want to feel the joys of being a dad.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll also, or I want to, and I'm also getting ready to do a bunch of commercials for different fluids.
But here's
for
the
money.
Here's the great thing.
And what I was going to say is what I'm going to try to do, or I'm about to go on tour. You're on tour, like PeteHolmes.com. What I'm going to try to do is do the stand-up tour and do all the like work and for money, and I'll try to imbue I won't totally forget about Enya.
That's right.
Not like these commercials are going to be Enya. I'm just saying I will try to. I'm not shutting the door.
That's the whole thing.
That.
Keep the door open all the time. Also, you're narrativizing that whole thing was literally a story. It's just going to be a moment. It's just going to be moment.
Well, I'm just talking about what we're both. Every human being.
I hear you,
doing.
but those moments are equally. Here's my. I believe this thing, God, this force, whatever, is, as Father Boyle says, is too busy delighting in you to have a plan. So there's no plan. Like if only Neal would this, or this. The perfect love, the mercy, the joy, it's already there. So can you tune into it while you're on tour or hawking something? Of course. You can, I think the message of Christianity is you can tap into it while you're being crucified. I think you can stay connected. That's the point of that, I would say. One of the points, one of the interpretations of that brutal death is like this person was staying, remembering who they were in the worst circumstance. I tried to think of
as we had this conversation, and it relates to the stuff we talked about with like being a good boy and all this sort of Catholic stuff, is the lack of mysticism, the lack of spirituality in religion is baffling. It's like, you fucking morons.
I'm with you.
You fucking morons. They've got, whenever I do these plants, I always come away with like, they've got the basic thing. It's just a bad game of telephone. Like all games of telephone, they do it. They tell the story in a way that benefits them. Mm-hmm. Like, and then anyhow, I'm going to need 10% of your money.
When you get a taste of what actual living spirit is, or what the transcendent actually is, you go, and it doesn't have to be through plants.
And also, I would like to say that you and I talking about it also kind of ruins it. Like it.
I thought you were going to say brings you there.
No. It ruins it. It's like it's talking about plant, talking about eye, talking about.
Of course,
it's you can't.
Anytime you're there, you go. With my first mushroom trip, I went, great. I'm going to have to talk about this and ruin it. That was my first thought.
Yeah, I
was like, this blabbermouth is going to ruin it. And boy, was I right. I wrote a book about it. It's fucking stupid. Here's what I wanted to tell you about pleasure.
That's the name of the book.
You
it's
might
fucking
enjoy
stupid. Go ahead.
Comedy, sex, God. Because it's about those three things.
Great.
Comedy, sex, God. Not comedy. Whatever.
Great.
You take it however you want.
Great.
Alan Watts has a very interesting thought experiment that you'll enjoy about pleasure, which is like, imagine, this is my own phrasing of it. Imagine if you could, you said jizzing, feel euphoria. And not only euphoria, but a euphoria that increases. Every 15 seconds, it gets a little bit better. So there's actually an arc to it. Just and you do
euphoria, you can like compounding interest.
Yes, it just keeps getting better and better. He goes, how many years?
Alan Watts, if you've never listened to him, is one of the best public speakers ever recorded.
Yeah, I agree.
Sounds like Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah,
if he smoked weed and apparently was quite a womanizer.
I think he drank and smoked a lot. Based on his laugh, that's true.
Yeah.
But the very notion that something could know itself, but not be. Anyway, he says, how many years would you do that? It's a good question. How many years would you stay in the crescendoing jizz, the orgasm, before, this is what he says, before you make a big red button that says, something happens. And that's what he makes of this, meaning there's more to be learned. No one learns anything from their perpetual joy. You learn things from season 3 of Chappelle's Show not happening, or whatever it might have been, whatever heartbreaks you've had. Like that's the whole point.
You're absolutely. He's absolutely right. The you would make it like Let's save it up.
Yeah.
Let's Friday.
Yeah.
You bring the button. Like let's go on what do they call it? A serotonin fast.
Yeah, that's right.
People would fast and then like, dude, if you wait 7 days, you hit the button, you fucking blast off.
But it's also like suffering is grace, like the idea of learning not just life lessons. I'm not talking about lessons. I mean, if the prize is realizing who you are, that you are Harry Potter, your parents are wizards, meaning you have divine DNA, then a breakup or losing your job or this or this becomes a price that you are like, that was grace. Looking back, it was grace. When it was happening, I didn't want it. That I can say that about my divorce. But this is what Richard Rohr calls falling upward. You're falling upward. You don't come to God by doing it right. Paula D'Arcy says you come to God, by doing it wrong. I don't know if it was Paula D'Arcy. Paula D'Arcy said God comes to us disguised as our lives, which is an incredible quote.
Yeah, it's a better version of life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
Right.
The John Lennon quote.
That's right. But that's what I'm trying to say when you're hawking your fluids, your drinks or whatever. Any moment, the ego would love to keep stringing it out. The next book, the next practice, the next podcast, the next meditation, the next ayahuasca. As long it actually is pretty happy with the carrot and the stick. When you recognize, and I'm trying to do this, every moment, how could it not be equally potential to wake up? Or don't imagine evaporating like a rapture. Just imagine this moment to recognize, oh shit, consciousness.
I'm in it.
I'm in it. This is it. When Ramana Maharshi died, they said, don't die. His followers were like, save yourself, do a miracle. And he goes, where could I go? Which is like a Seinfeld bit.
Yeah.
Don't be silly. Where could I go? Where do you think it's in the Psalms. I make my bed in the depths, you're there. I go to the heavens, you're there. Where can you go that being is not? That's why you're like, I don't think I had an ego death. I'm like, where could you, and Rupert Spira would say, the constant, whether you're waking, dreaming, hallucinating, happy, sad, eating, watching a movie, taking a shit, what's the constant? You were aware. That's okay. Now we're getting pretty close to the thing.
Yeah, being grateful.
Hard to touch.
It was, I had gratitude a couple months ago, or became aware of it. It was like, I talked to Keenan about it.
Thompson?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were friends with him.
Yeah, only for 30 years.
Will all that. Do my pod?
I wrote a Keenan and Kel.
Will you do my pod?
I can't speak for him, but
I mean, is he the kind of guy that would do that?
Yes.
Be a nice way to say thanks to old Petey. Little intro.
What just happened? We're doing a podcast, and next thing I know, I literally you turn to an older Jewish woman. I just thought if we're booking a show.
What if people think that's how it works? That the joke of me doing that here is that you shouldn't do this here, just for everyone watching. Yeah. Don't do that.
Wait till I trade Rainn Wilson for Kenan Thompson.
You can have him. We're trading baseball cards, basically.
Yeah. So how many people have lived? 100 million people have lived as human beings. We're up right now. 100 million people lived and died. 100 billion people have lived and died.
Yeah.
We're one of the 8 billion. Our spot is right now. Our spot is 79 in your case, 73 in my case. Like, you're up. So enjoy.
Yeah.
The other thing I thought of when you were saying this is like, so when I did Bufo Alvarius, the 5-MeO DMT thing in November 1st, 2021. And I know that date because it broke me, whatever. There were 2 days where I was so disoriented. I was halfway between normal consciousness and like DMT death consciousness, but it's not pleasant.
Yeah. It doesn't sound pleasant.
Indescribable. I know what you're thinking. It wasn't pleasant. It wasn't pleasant to be talking to a woman and having the side of my POV be like white static. Not as great as you'd think. But I thought I might have to kill myself if this persists. because it's too disorienting. And I didn't, partially because I knew I'd be going into more of it.
Wow.
So like that thing that guy was saying about like, where the fuck am I going to go? Like I was there a little bit, and in human consciousness, it's incomprehensible. So I was like, I can't. So I was like stuck between the two, and I chose not to go to it for a bunch of reasons. But one of them was because like I can't be a part. I can't go into that as this. Like it's just it was too scary and incomprehensible in this vessel.
We're at a depth that I don't often get to, and I'm glad, because it's always helpful. Maybe this will help you, I don't know, but I'm always having to remind myself that, remember, the Mohammeds and the Christs and the Buddhas, we're not just talking about knuckleheads like us seeing these things. The people that are merging and blending and blurring into that all say they all encounter a lover, not a tormentor. That, you see what I'm saying? Like when we get scared, because I've also smoked 5 MEO DMT, and sometimes my ego goes, "You want to go to that? Like that's your heaven? That's your heaven.
No.
You want to be in a tornado?" Like I felt like my trip was very peaceful and gorgeous, and I honestly can't remember 99% of it, but like what I remember is like a khaki sandstorm, like a tornado of just everythingness, and I loved it. And my ego can scare me with that and go like, really?
Why'd your ego not want you to love that?
Because Pete wasn't there. I think we would rather be miserable and separate and have fear and anger and pain and jealousy as long as we can be special. And I think the white staticky thing, and that is very scary, when we're dying, it's very helpful to remember the surrender into it, lover, not tormentor. That's all I'm saying.
No, well, it's
also
said.
you. It's also you. It's yourself.
That's why I say I wasn't an ego death, because it was like there were elements of it that it was my point of view.
That's right.
So my infinite point of view from
you,
my earliest consciousness as a human.
Yeah.
And then realizing like it's before that.
Yeah.
And it's after that.
Okay, so Ramana Maharshi again says God, guru, and self are one. So my 5-MeO, I love that you helped me remember this. My 5-MeO trip, I was like, we think we go somewhere. We think we go out. I meant death, because I had like a death trip. You're going in. You're already there, and you're removing this. But the journey is 0.0 feet away, 0.0 centimeters away.
Yeah. Well, that's funny because like we're like 6 feet.
6 feet?
That's our essence, and then all of this consciousness and
is
this
6
body
feet in
is
circle?
like 6 feet out from that.
That's fun. The mantra that helped me, because what you said is scary, I want to give it some remedy for myself and for anyone listening, is I trust myself. I do an app called the 4-Minute Journal. It's just affirmations and gratitude. And I like it. And the affirmation I never skip is I trust myself, my capital S self, because that was my takeaway from 5-MeO. So you think you're going somewhere else, to something else. It's what's looking at your eyes, and you're returning to it in its pure way. It's not something new. It's a pure experience of what you've been the whole time. It's unencumbered, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you scare me, as I get a little scared about thinking about you being suicidal, I'm so glad you found your way out of that. That's frightening to me. Then I remember you're scared of yourself. It's like being afraid of your own shadow.
And it wasn't suicidal in a depressed way. It was suicide from like almost pre-psychosis or whatever.
I understand.
By the way, it was a reactivation a week later, and if you ever do 5-MeO, people don't know this. 70% of people have a reactivation.
What does that mean?
That like what they used to call an acid flashback or whatever. Like, whoa, it's that for 5-MeO.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and some
I
told you. left to my own devices, I'd eat the same thing every day and do the same thing every day.
Yeah. That's what's great about marrying. I do not think opposites attract, but I think it's beautiful to find someone who's like an 80% match.
Yep.
And then that 20, I remind Val of how important it is to retreat and stay in and recharge. And she reminds me that sometimes you should go on a trip, like a physical trip. Sometimes you should have people over. You know what I mean? We're having people over tonight. And it really came to clear to me when she came with me to New York. I think it was the first time. And I just wanted to go to Juice Press every day. I mean, you laugh, you recognize, right? I had shows. I was like, I know that this makes me feel good. Eat this. And then she was like, can we try? And I was like, oh, like I didn't know. I had a block. So the reason I listed it as a block was it's an anxiety reduction technique. It's like people who binge The Office. It's like, I'm going to eat the same things because we're in the jazz.
You know the likely outcome.
And we're in the jazz. And when you're in the jazz, you look for those things. Imagine, I look at it with my daughter. She just showed up in this trip. This is a trip. There's hierarchies and there's colors and there's dimension, and there's touching and sound. She's learning it. And the way you do that is you repeat things over and over, and that's very soothing. It's very comforting.
Yeah.
So I have compassion for Pete that would eat the same thing every day. But the best thing Pete did is partner with somebody that was like, I'm going to shake that up just enough.
Do you dislike it every time? Because you're talking to a guy who eats sweet cream every weekday and has had salad every weekday for lunch. But I mean, sometimes they don't.
This is
but
assassin mode.
For the most part,
when I go and shoot something, like I've been in Toronto a lot. I was shooting something. I figure out where my shit is, eat it every day, and I like it because there's a lot of stress management, performing, doing stand-up, whatever it might be. And Val will say things like, I never see you learning lines. I never see you writing bits. And every time she sees me do stand-up, guess what? Got new bits. And I remember them. And when I act, no, I've never sat down with sides. Guess what? I'll never call you and say, will you run sides with me? I know my shit. You know why? I just saved a fuck ton of RAM because I never wonder what I'm going to eat or what I'm going to wear. You know what I'm going to wear tomorrow, Neal? You're looking at it.
I got to be honest with you.
I
don't think it's taking up that much RAM.
That's interesting. I can't know if I'm right
with
or wrong.
you because again, I have 20 of these shirts in different colors. It's Lululemon pants. I bought 4 pairs. Hopefully I don't have to buy any more pants. These are Pharrell Adidas. Bought 4 pairs of them. Hopefully I don't have to. Our mutual friend Blake Griffin once said I dress like a cartoon character. I say mutual friend because Pete did maybe the best roast I've ever seen. Pete versus Blake. And
what sucks is so many of the jokes I can't quote. I remember them, but they are like inappropriate. Like a lot of them.
Yeah, they weren't. I mean, they were. It was just a joyous event.
Yeah.
It was just. It
I'm
was
so
in
glad
Montreal.
You enjoyed it. I remember what I said about you too.
It was just a joyous evening.
Yeah, I love that.
But
you shared that.
But I don't think you're saving that much RAM. But I do agree with you that
it reduces anxiety.
Yeah, it just takes it off it's a thing you don't have to worry about.
One of the beautiful things Val taught me is just like green light your own feelings. Like you're saying the gay counsel or whatever it is isn't coming.
Gay jury.
Gay jury. Your shit is your shit. That's the sound of grown-upness to me, is just going like, instead of apologizing or narrativizing or saying like, oh, I shouldn't be this way or that shouldn't worry me. My dog's barking shouldn't scare me, or like I shouldn't get overwhelmed when Val says, let's go on vacation. Your shit is your shit. Let's not get stuck in the rabbit hole of whether or not that
judging
should
your
be
own
my shit. And also
idiosyncrasies
to me,
or preferences.
The other thing that Val's helped me realize, she and I do the podcast on Fridays together, and we realize this over and over. It's not the feeling, it's embarrassment that you feel the feeling. So you feel mad, you feel sad, you feel angry, you feel jealous, you feel greedy. It's not that feeling. It's that you can't give yourself mercy or understanding.
You're absolutely right.
Embarrassed.
If I'm writing somebody an email, whatever, if I'm like having a bit of a heart to heart,
Dave@chappelle.com.
Yeah, that's his email. If I'm writing someone like a fairly confrontational or like State of the Union, I do say like, I feel this way and I feel embarrassed that I feel this way.
That's great.
That's always a close second.
Yeah.
Is like, I'm embarrassed that I want this.
Look, I hope this doesn't make you sad, but I feel like you'd be a great dad. That is the cornerstone of what was missing from dads in the 80s. It was shut the fuck up or whatever it was. Yeah. And it was never, guys, I was just hungry, man. Like I was hungry and I had this guy at Dunkin' Donuts, he looked at me weird and he called me old man. And I just I couldn't get you. And instead it came out as shut the fuck up. My dad didn't even say shut the fuck up.
No, I know. But as you say that, I'm like, I wonder if people want, there's a Dave Eggers line, and then I will fuck up, but it was like, children want a Subaru Outback. They don't want a Ferrari.
Yeah.
They want something stable, reliable, unadorned.
That's a Seinfeld bit.
Is it? It's a Seinfeld bit about parents?
Relationships. He's like, you might date a few Ferraris, but in the end, you want like a reliable, starts every morning, good in the snow, good in the heat.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've dated Ferraris. Get the fuck out of here.
Well, yeah, it's not, yeah.
And I say this with full love. Val is the best Subaru Outback you could ever hope for. And you can put the top down on it.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, do you want to know that your dad, if you're a kid, do you want to know it's like women say they want an emotional guy, but then I've also heard women go like, he cried and I could never fuck him again.
I get it. Right. I couldn't get moist. I hear that.
I didn't want to.
I didn't like that.
I'm sorry.
I didn't like that.
For women. I should have bleeped it. Yeah, so I'm with you in terms of honoring your own feeling.
I don't know, and I mix it up.
Or honor. I don't like the word honor, but
sometimes I am super dad. Sometimes I am just a dad that goes like, let's keep this. No. But let's keep this primary colors. I'm not going to let you in behind the curtain, and I'll give you an avatar. That we're talking about symbol, right? We're going back to dreams. I was thinking about I had a dream where I saw a Jordan 5 washing away, and it was because I realized when I woke up, it's like, because I'm not close with that friend who gave me these Jordan 5s. And I was like, brilliant. So we work in symbols. So sometimes I will be a symbol for my daughter. Like sometimes she will not get me, the full therapized, because I'm with you. Sometimes you just want fucking vanilla ice cream dad, especially when it comes to being like bedrock, strong. Yeah. Let's not overanalyze this. Like, let's say she wants to do a grand gesture for someone she's in love with in high school. Let's do it. I'll just be that dad instead of the guy that goes like, honestly, you want to learn how to validate yourself. And you're like, shut the fuck up, get in the car, get the plywood. We're going to build ourselves a fucking balcony or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Whatever she's going to do.
Yeah.
You should let her know that women shouldn't do grand gestures. It's men who do them.
That's right. Women are flowers, boys are bees.
She has to understand the hierarchy.
I'm just kidding, but every spring I feel that way. All the women dress like flowers and all the boys like literally dress like bees.
I mean, you're not exactly wrong.
Yeah. I'll take that.
Closer, because we talk so much God stuff, we'll do I don't like music.
Again, we open with dogs and now we're on music. And I think I hope you can, and I bet you can, get in touch with the me that feels very lonely when I say I don't really like music. What I mean is, so I took MDMA recently and I realized that everything is anxiety. So when I say I don't like music, what I'm actually saying is I have anxiety. I have anxiety.
Say more.
If you eliminate my anxiety and put on music, God damn, I fucking love music. So what do? I exercise. I know you do too, and you're a big fat ass and you should do it more. I exercise this morning, usually in the car. I listen to heady stuff, lectures, books, all that sort of stuff. But because I got my heart rate up and I was in a flow, I put on Childish Gambino and I'm fucking crying and laughing and just loving it. It's because I lowered my anxiety. But it goes back to sound trauma. Listen to the similarity. I didn't even realize this with the dog. What are the chances that 311 is how I fucking want to feel? Whole Foods. How fucking dare you impose this noise on me? Like, I don't feel that way. I don't want to hear, I love the love of your body. That'll be in my head for like 9 months because I had to hear that shit. Get the fuck out of my, like, it's not neutral to me. Music isn't neutral to me. I'm sensitive, and if you play, a hooky song, it's going to stick into me and it's going to fuck up. It's going to be in my dreams. It's going to be.
So you like music maybe too much?
Maybe. I take it seriously, I guess is what you mean.
Yeah.
But the funnier element is when I go to a concert, I don't know. I sometimes struggle with how to just listen to music because I feel like a schmuck being like.
Real quick, one of my blocks don't really like concerts.
That's me too.
I find that musicians are overly worshipped for like in a way that comedians are not, and I resent it. I just like the screaming. It just feels like everyone's performing at like the
got a
crowd's
drunk guy
performing
next to me saying the lyrics wrong.
Yeah, like the crowd's. It's just I just doesn't work on me. Quickly, movie of your life. What's the plot arc? Who plays you?
Buddy, this is a very schmaltzy answer, but it's honest. I thought the movie of my life was raised religious, wife got married when he was 22, wife leaves when he's 28.
You thought it was your sitcom.
Then I became a comedian. Turns out that's not even in the movie. This is very schmaltzy, but the movie.
You already said.
I know,
quote.
but I'm embarrassed.
Yep.
The movie starts when my daughter is born. It starts with me and Val, and we have a family. I know. I thought you meant it.
Good.
It's every day I'm with a running faucet of love, meaning it's constantly changing and morphing and watching it and being involved in it and figuring out who I am. It was boring. It was all about me. What movie can I see? When can I jizz or eat or just look good?
I like that I'm now synonymous with jizz. I say it once, and you're like,
no, I meant me. And now this is the movie, and I'm not the star, and it's incredible. It's
third
incredible.
lead.
It's incredible to
You're
be
the
the
third lead.
And I'm going to flatter myself, but I'm Jeff Bridges. I just think this horse has a lot of heart. It's Jeff Bridges.
Fantastic.